Hey guys, we're at the farm again. Welcome to part 39 of the Great Farm Cleanup. It's late February, almost the end of summer, and finally it feels like summer. Not that that's a good thing when I've got a bit of work to do, but it's hot, it's dry, it's dusty, and we'll show you out in the paddocks. It finally looks like summer. Yep, these last few episodes I've been not complaining, I've been puzzled why the countryside looks so green. And if we look out here now, that's what the countryside around here normally looks like. Barely a blade of green anywhere. All the harvest is finished, all the paddocks basically are just stubble, and the sheep have eaten anything that's green. We can look right down there across the paddocks. There's a railway line in the distance. There's a bit of a heat haze amongst the trees. It's about 33 degrees here today, so it's pretty warm. Tomorrow is supposed to be an extremely bad fire day. I think it's going to be up to about 37 degrees and quite strong winds. There has been a lot of fires around the district, not so much around here. You can see how the farmyard's just dried off totally. But down areas around the Grampians Mountains, which we can normally see down the lane here. I'll just duck out in the lane and we'll have a look. Oh, I've just scared the sheep from their shade. Sorry guys. Now in the distance you can't make it out, but over the trees along the horizon, just at the back of the tractor you might be able to see it. Let me see if I can zoom in. Now above the trees on the horizon there's a bit of a darker blue stripe. Well, that's the Grampians Mountains. Normally they're very visible from here, but there's quite a lot of smoke haze around from some fires they've had down there. One of the nearby towns down there unfortunately suffered some very bad fire damage. I don't think there was any lives lost, but there was certainly properties destroyed, so that was quite sad. And yeah, just looking down the laneway here towards the machinery graveyard, pretty much nothing but dust. This is a very typical Wimmera summer sort of scene. And, you know, this is what I grew up in. We had days on end of 40 plus, and it certainly hasn't been that hot. There's the big grain receivals in the distance and the famous Matoa stick shed. So it's hot and it's dusty and it feels normal for summer. Now, I've just got here today. It's Tuesday and I do have to go back Thursday. So it's a quick trip. We need to get some stuff in the van. I need to help Mum pack up some more in the house. She's gradually relocating some things to her new house in Nagambie, but she won't be moving in for a little while yet. There's still a lot of stuff here to do, and I do have to this time try and fix at least one of these ride-on mowers, so we might look at that this afternoon. As I said, tomorrow is going to be quite a nasty day, so I won't be able to do too much outside. I might have to try and get a very early start, and we will address one of those lawnmower jobs. I need to sort out a little bit more stuff in the sheds here, but I think my priority this trip is to get a good load in the van. I think no matter what we do each trip, I have to go back with a full load. I think that's the critical thing. There's a pile of pipe beside this shed that someone mentioned a while back, and I totally agree. It's probably the last little messy spot of stuff out in the yard that I need to tidy up. Some of it I'm going to sell. The actual racks I'm going to sell on probably Facebook Marketplace. Hope that wind isn't getting blustery in the microphone. And some of it can go to the scrap pile as well. And then there's stuff in the feed shed and there's stuff in some of the other sheds. But look, I can deal with a lot of this later on. I think, given that it's going to be hot, I think we'll work maybe inside, pack up some more household stuff for Mum, do a bit in the sheds perhaps early in the morning and perhaps late in the evening. So that's the plan for this trip. Only a couple of days here. I better get to work and do something this afternoon. So I've already had some success. I've got the old AMC Explorer ride-on mower going. Just jump-started the battery. It fired up pretty easily, and I've blown up the back tyre. I think it's a very slow leak, so, you know, I'm not even going to waste time trying to fix it. It will stay up for a couple of days, and it's easy just to start up the air compressor and blow it up. And the battery should hopefully charge once it gets a bit of a workout. Now, to follow up from a previous farm video, I did ask the question, and just about everyone agreed that we should take this trim off. This homemade bookcase or storage shelf unit was made out of two largish crates. Now, I was hoping they were going to be nice old oil boxes. We took all the lining off it in a previous episode, but unfortunately they're just fairly plain crates. Although Mum tells me that MSJG stood for Madden's Stores in Jung, which was JUNG. So that was an abbreviation, I guess, that served as an address. That box was destined for Madden's Stores in Jung. The bottom one, exactly the same. So there you go. Who would have known that was an address? Just as a bit of an aside story, and I think some of you like hearing my stories, I went to college years ago back in the 1980s, and while I'm talking, we'll just browse around the garage sale setup I'm having here. We haven't really moved much, but I'm getting it all ready. And back then, there was a guy in a couple of years above me, and his nickname was Flop. And he went, a friend of his, I think, went across to America, and he sent a postcard back to Flop. And at that stage, well, as a lot of college students do, we spent a lot of time at the local pub, and he sent a postcard back, and if I remember correctly, it was simply addressed Flop, which is F-L-O-P, care of Doon Pub, Australia. No postcode, no address other than Doon Pub, Australia, and it got to him. I wonder if it would these days. How good is the postal service now compared to, that would have been probably the late 70s, early 80s. So there you go. Now, this stuff we've set up, a lot of this came from the container. If you remembered, we cleaned out the container last trip. I haven't been back since, and I haven't advertised it at all. I think there might have been one or two things actually go. Mum may have sold a couple of things to visitors here. But I will organise a proper garage sale and advertise it as such on the local Facebook posts groups when I'm back for probably 3 or 4 days, maybe a little bit down the track. In the meantime, if anyone happens to spot something here, and I do put a few notes and for sales on Facebook, and if they come out to pick up whatever they're coming out to buy and they spot something here, well, at least it's all organised and ready to go. I think there was someone going to pick up these free pots, so hopefully they go. You'll also notice all this tumbleweed stuff. Mum's always called it a whirligig. It builds up incredibly high and smothers things this time of the year. I think if I remember correctly, it's basically a seed carrying apparatus of I think it's veld grass. No, it's hairy panic, I think I remember. And it's a grass that grows and then produces this big sort of elaborate growth, and then it dries off and all the seed pods are on the end of it, and it tumbles away and the wind blows it and it builds up in huge piles. And I've actually seen photographs of houses nearly buried in the stuff. So it's probably not as big as the tumbleweeds that you see on the movies in the States, but they're Australian. Oh, I think actually we probably get pretty large tumbleweeds out in the outback Australia. Now, what has happened in Mum's shed? Well, we've made some space. Look at the space in there. There used to be a pool table in there, so we've got rid of something large. And also there was a piano in the house, and that's gone as well. So we had a removalist turn up last weekend, and he took the pool table and he took the piano, and they've gone over to South Australia to my uncle and auntie's place. So that's great. 2 very heavy things that I wasn't looking forward to moving have now gone. I thought I might spend a bit of time this afternoon just continuing in this shed. We moved that table from the container last time. I think all those chook feeders and water dispensers, I guess they're called, or feed dispensers, I think a lady in town's taking them. I'm going to try and dig out this 1960s retro buffet, sort of a sideboard. It's got a lot of, well, crystals. I think they were gypsum crystals. And I think there's even half a teapot in there somewhere, an old teapot covered with them. So they were collected one day when we were out Fossey King on a rock trip. And I think we can probably box them up and take them back to Ngambie, try and sell them. The fish tank I don't think anyone wants. And I'll clean up the buffet we might advertise that locally and see if we can get $50 for it. I'd probably have more than that on it in the shop. I reckon it's worth a lot more than that. But in the interest of moving it from here without me having to take it back home, $50 will be fine. There's a few jigsaws on the wall that had been completed and then glued to a board. I don't really think they're of any value at all. Yeah, not worth framing or anything. They might have to go on the bonfire. And I'll try and clean up these old wardrobes and see if we can give these ones away as well. So gives me something to do in this corner while it's so hot. It's pretty warm in the shed, but at least I'm not out in the sun. So we'll get onto this stuff and see if we can make some progress. Oh, I nearly forgot. We better take the trim off this first and see how it looks. Yeah, it won't take much to take off. It's going to look much more like a box, but yeah, well, it's done now. I'm not putting it back on. There we go. Now it looks more like a stack of boxes. That's okay. We'll pull out a few nails. I might just pressure wash it. I've got the pressure wash around the corner, and we'll take that back. And look, I think we'd probably still nearly get $50 for it, you know. Maybe 30. Put 30 bucks on it. It'll sell. Be handy in someone's shed. It's got that depression furniture look to it. And the pink in the drawers actually doesn't look too bad. So there we go. Probably still would have got 30 for the thing originally, but it was worth checking. You never know what the boxes could have been. It's the next morning now. Beautiful sunrise. Wonderful morning. Nice and, oh, it's not fresh. It's fairly mild, but it's nice and still. If only the day could stay like this for 10 or 12 hours and I'd get a fair bit done. But over in the west there, the clouds are looming. We're supposed to be getting a possible storm, but they're more worried about it being 39 degrees, which is well over the 100 in the old scale, and very gusty, strong winds. So a lot of Victoria is a total fire ban today, and this particular district, as serene as it looks at the moment, is forecast as a catastrophic fire day. So fingers crossed there's no fires start and it's not as bad as they're forecasting, but it's not looking very good. So I'm out here nice and bright and early. I need to get some stuff in the van. We did get a little bit more done late last night. We actually went out for tea with some friends who are leaving for Canada today, so hopefully they can get down to Melbourne okay. I got a little bit more done. Let's have a look in here. So I've managed to move stuff away from this retro 60s buffet or sideboard unit. I've nearly finished cleaning it out. It's quite a nice looking 60s unit if you're into retro stuff. As I said, I think I'm just going to put $50 on it. Hopefully it goes quickly, but I won't actually advertise this trip because people aren't supposed to travel today due to the conditions, and I am going back first thing in the morning, but at least we'll have it ready. We've sorted out a few more boxes of stuff. I'm going to try and empty out these wardrobes, so again, they can be ready to be picked up, hopefully, next time I'm back if the weather's nicer. So there's not a lot to deal with in these. A lot of old egg cartons, because Mum used to actually have a lot of chooks and a lot of eggs, and I think she used to provide a few people in town with eggs, so they're probably surplus to requirements. I'm not sure what's in the plastic bags, but we'll try and empty that out today until it gets too hot in the shed. Then we'll move inside and get some stuff done in there. But I probably should start looking at loading some things in the van while it's cool. So there are a few bits of furniture inside I'd like to get in. So maybe that will be the first thing today, and maybe box up some of the stuff in here that we do need to take to Nagambie. All these are empty boxes, by the way. Every time I come over with an empty van, I bring boxes and crates, because obviously we're going to need a lot of them. And also very shortly, I'm going to pressure wash that old timber box shelf unit, and there's a fish tank. I'll give that a bit of a clean up. They can both go in the van, actually. I think I've got much more chance of selling the old timber shelves at the shop, and they're easy to move. So we'll call this episode finished. We'll start episode 40 very shortly, and that will, if you're interested to see how the day pans out weather-wise, I'll obviously let you know there. Hopefully nothing serious eventuates and we get some more progress done. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.